Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. I hope you're doing well. We are looking at listener surveys, of which I'm hosting one right now for this very show. Wow, good timing, Dave. And I wanted to bring attention to it because I'd love to hear from you. The more people I hear from, the better, because it's going to help shape the future of the show. 572 episodes in, we're wanting to make sure that we're meeting your needs as a listener. So whether this is your first episode or you listen to 572 plus episodes of this show, we'd love to hear from you. So don't be shy. Your comments will really be super helpful and enlightening for me as the host of the show. I want this show to be your go-to resource for podcasting. There's a lot of other shows out there, some great ones, some that, we'll just move forward with this. I would love for this show to be one of your top go-to podcasts about how to podcast. It's right in the name, so that you find encouragement and strength, and you find a podcast that builds you up, doesn't tear you down, a podcast that you would be proud to share with somebody else. That's what I want. I want to make this show highly shareable so that you don't embarrass yourself by saying, oh, go listen to Dave. This is such a good podcast. And then I do something that's completely out of the norm, or do something that harms your reputation because you recommended the show. I want the show to be great for you to recommend. And I appreciate everybody that tells anybody about the show. So thank you. So over on howtopodcast.ca and in the show notes for this very episode, you're going to see a link for my Google form. So that's how I'm building my survey. I'm using Google, and Google Forms collects, helps me to create all the questions, helps me collect the answers. And then what I have done is through Google, I've then connected the Google form that you're seeing when you click on the link to a Google Sheet. And all of your answers get funneled into a Google Sheet. Instead of me having to manually do it later, it automatically goes there. So I just go to my Google Sheet and I can see who's responded. I can see your answers, and they group them together by question. So I have a column for each of the questions. So I know exactly kind of what you're saying, and I can compare listener to listener your feedback. So I'm getting some pretty interesting comments. One that's really stood out to me that I'm still pondering is maybe something that we talk about too much on the podcast. And one of you, thank you for this, by the way, it's meaningful, it really is, mentioned that we talk about inactivity a lot on the show. Maybe we could talk a little less about inactivity as a podcaster, like, getting started. And I'm like, wow, I do talk about that a lot. The reason for that, and I'm not trying to justify anything, but the reason for that is when I talk to new podcasters, I find a lot of podcasters struggling just to start. They really they're trapped in a perfection loop. They're trapped in an imposter syndrome loop. They're trapped in what they feel is a lack of knowledge. And they just keep repeating this cycle of getting close to starting and then backing away, getting close to starting and backing away. And I want people to see that once you get started, the path becomes a lot easier. So that forward momentum as a creator builds upon itself over time, and it becomes easier. It really does become easier as you get started. So yes, I do talk a lot about inactivity, and it comes from a heart of not judgment, that I'm judging you for not being an active podcaster or not starting your show, but it comes from a frustration that, from my perspective, you have so much to give to the world. You have something special, and the world needs you. And the fact that you can't get past the starting line is frustrating to me, because I know the impact the potential that you have because of who you are, that you could reach a lot of great people. And once you get started, you're going to look back on all those false starts and all those struggles and go, oh, I wish I had started earlier. And so here's an example. Okay, now a lot of people talk about podcasting is about making money with your show and, how do I grow my show and getting sponsors and all that stuff. I don't do that on the show because I really don't want to subject you to podcast ads. I say no to all of the ads that come through and people wanting to be on the show to sell to you. Yeah. We build an audience and then we give them away to our sponsors. So for me personally, that's just my approach. I don't do that. So one of my listeners for Dad Space reached out recently and said that every November I do 30 episodes in 30 days for Dad Space. And it's themed around Movember, which is a month of focusing on men's health, men's mental health, physical health, raising money for men's charities, and men connecting with men. So Movember is a great framework to help men focus on themselves for once, and not just on their families or their partners, but we got to look at each other and look at ourselves in the mirror and take care of ourselves. So we grow a mustache and all that stuff, right? So Movember. So I did the 30 episodes in 30 days, and in one of the episodes, I talked about something along the lines of that we can't fix ourselves, and we do need to reach out and get help, like support from a professional. I'm not a professional. I don't have that degree. I don't have that ability to help you in that way, but I can encourage you to go talk to somebody. And a person that listens on the other side of the planet to that show reached out to me and said, I've been putting off for years and years and years going and getting professional help with my mental health. I just thought I could handle it myself. But listening to your show opened my eyes to the fact that I do need help. And I just want to let you know, because of your podcast, I'm now going to go see somebody and get the support I need. And had it not been for your show, I probably wouldn't have done it. Now, tell me that that's not worth the effort of starting a podcast, to know that kind of impact can happen. And now you might have an entertainment show, you might have an interview show, you might have a storytelling podcast, a solo podcast. You could have all kinds of different types of podcasts. But when your content connects with somebody to the degree where it creates action for them to move forward with a major life change or betterment, isn't that worth starting a podcast? And so when I go back to the inaction piece, it's the fact that I know your voice, your content, your ideas, your stories, your message can reach somebody that nobody else could reach. And if you don't start that show that you're passionate about, and you get caught in an information loop, and you go sign up with 10 more gurus, and you do 5 more conferences and 15 more books, and you listen to every podcast about podcasting, and you never, ever hit record and publish on your episode, as good or as rough as it is, if you never do that, you're never going to reach that person. So that's my underlying desire for you, is that even though I do talk about inactivity a lot, it's from a heart of, I think you could change the world with your podcast. And to see you struggle is frustrating, because I just want to take away all the frustrations and all the hurdles that seem to be propping up and setting you back. I just want to take them away. I want you to go. I just want you to fly, be free. I want you to go because you got something great for the world. So that's the frustration point. That's why I talk about it often. Maybe I need to talk about it less, according to the survey. But that's the power of a survey. I get to hear from you. And you need to think about a survey for your show. So one of the books that I really love, I've told you, if you've listened to the show before, you've probably heard me say this. If you're new, then this is the first time hearing me say this. It's a book called The Audience is Listening, A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast by Tom Webster. I keep this book near my microphone and near my monitor or my computer because I tell a lot of people about this book. It's a small book, a quick, easy read. The audiobook is hilarious and cheeky and fun, but it is kind of a manual for podcasters, something you will refer to often. You're going to write in it. You're going to put Post-it sticky notes all through it. The audience is listening, a little guide to building a big podcast. Tom does even something cool. He doesn't call his chapters, he calls them episodes, which is ironic. But episode 4 is all about the listener survey. And Tom loves surveys. Tom does that and polls people and collects information about podcasting and all kinds of stuff. But he gives you some sample questions for a survey. It was the basis of what I did to create my survey with some of my own questions as well. But episode 4, the listener survey, is a great starting point if you just want to jump into that part in relation to what we're talking about today. So I'm sending you in that direction. Audiobook, again, is fun. I love the audiobook so much that I bought the paper book, so I have both. So I can listen to the audiobook and read the book at the same time. It's great. So the audience is listening, A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast by Tom Webster. Links in the show notes. I would tell you, as a new podcaster or somebody who's been in podcasting for a long time, this would be a must-have book to have with you. I highly recommend it and really enjoy it. So go check out Tom Webster, The Audience is Listening, A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast. It's a great resource for building your survey. As a podcaster, I think leveraging listener surveys is one of your secret weapons. One of the best ways for you to know, A, how your show is doing, and B, how it could be better. Anything we can do to improve is great. You're going to get a small microcosm of listeners who respond to any requests that you put out there, responding to a survey, sponsoring you through Buy Me a Coffee, leaving you a SpeakPipe message, sending you an email. A very tiny amount of people will ever do any of those things at all. So when somebody takes time to fill in your survey, you're connecting in that moment with somebody who truly cares about your show, enough to give you feedback. So it's a big Herculean ask to ask anybody to do this. So acknowledge the fact that when somebody says yes and somebody hits send or post or hits record and leaves you a voice message, you've just captured the attention and the time of one of your most avid listeners. So honor that. I think the big part of this is to make sure that you acknowledge the people who give you feedback, because without their feedback and without their response, you really don't have a good clue about how your podcast is landing with your audience. So again, I'm using Google Forms to create my survey. You can go look at it. You can steal the ideas. You can go into Google for free and create your own form. It's pretty intuitive. It's pretty straightforward. If you need help, I can definitely do a screen share with you and help you create your survey for specific to your podcast. But yeah, create your survey through Google Forms. It's free. And then connect it to Google Sheets, which is also free. And you don't have to pay to have it hosted somewhere. Put it out there. It's like baiting a hook, throwing it out in the lake, and sticking your fishing rod into the dock and just having a coffee and watching the birds. The hook and the bait, they do all the work, and you just relax. So set it up. Use a Google form, use a Google Sheet, and capture honest feedback from your audience that your analytics can't tell you. So there's some action steps around what to do with your survey results. Creating and getting the feedback is one thing, but then what do you do with this information? My suggestion is don't create a survey if you have no plans to use the information that comes to you from said survey. Make sure you have a plan. But what are some action steps that we can take with the results that come from our survey? I think that one thing is we can sort through and kind of address any commonalities that come in from multiple sources. If multiple people that are not connected to each other are giving you similar feedback, they're touching on something. They're touching on a good thing or something that needs improvement. And when it comes from multiple sources, That's interesting. That's something to pay attention to. One-off things where, let's say, for example, somebody says to you, I want your podcast to be 1 minute long. And you normally do a 30-minute podcast. But only one person says that. I wouldn't redo my whole show for one person. But if 100 people or 10 people or 5 people tell me the same thing, and again, they're not connected to each other. They don't know each other. They don't know what everybody else wrote. But you're seeing a common thread, then that's something you should at least consider. At least acknowledge. So, like I said at the beginning, feedback from my audience that I talk about, this not starting, right? That maybe that's something that I could adjust or talk less about. But I'm talking about it right now, so I'm kind of defeating the purpose of that result. But we need to have a way to kind of go through and look at the results and understand the why behind it. So, for example, if 70% of your audience prefer 20 to 30-minute episodes, then plan that into your podcast and tweak your show a little bit. You might be doing a 1-hour show, and the feedback you're reading is people would prefer you in 30-minute chunks. You just cut your show in half, basically, and instead of recording twice as long, record less often. It's actually a bonus to you. When you get this feedback, just don't try to do everything. That's the big thing, because you're going to get multiple suggestions coming from different sources. They're all important, but you don't need to act on every single thing that's mentioned. But I would say you need to acknowledge it. So that's one thing to consider. Prioritize like one thing and focus on that. At a certain period of time, for a month or two, you focus on the one thing. We need to test any major overhauls, tweak our episode length, for example, based on feedback, and then survey again to see if there's the same information is coming through or if that goes away, and share your results publicly. You asked for shorter episodes, so now we're going to do shorter episodes on the show. And actually, that's part of the feedback I've had for this show, is that, a shorter episode might be beneficial. Great. Then let people know and make it obvious that you've made a change. Another thing you could do too is use the feedback that comes through your audience as social posts about the show. Now, I would definitely not use the person's name because you don't have permission to do that, but take the general theme of what was said. Maybe shorten it, maybe make it reword it a little bit, but keep the theme, the tone of what's being said to you, and use that as a touch point on your social platforms. So, this podcast helped me to grow my business. This podcast helped me to be a better dad. This podcast pointed me towards getting mental health support. Those are good things to talk about. So people reading are like, wait, what is this show about? So don't be afraid to use that feedback, but make sure it's anonymous and don't use the person's name without their permission, all that stuff. But the theme of what they're saying could be touch points and could also then lead you to more content ideas because it resonated with one. It probably resonated with more people as well who haven't responded to your survey. So there might be ideas for you to go deeper into a topic that maybe you touched on, but maybe you could do like a 5-episode series on and expand on it and go deeper into that topic because it did hit a nerve with somebody. Maybe you should go deeper. So use that as a content creation point as well. What are the benefits of responding to your responders? It's important. When you use feedback in your show, then wherever you can, shout out, even just by first name, this is an idea that came from Sarah. Thanks, Sarah. Because of Sarah's comments, we're going to go in this direction for this episode. Sarah's listening. She's one of the very few who responded to your request for feedback. So I would say that there's a good chance that Sarah is an avid listener of your show. So she's probably going to hear you say that. So use the name of the person, right? for things that are not personal in nature, but maybe some direction for the show. It helps to validate the group while spotlighting individuals who provide feedback. And it creates this fear of missing out for those who wanted to respond to the survey but just didn't do it. When they start hearing others called out, they're like, but I want to be called out. So then that might motivate them to respond to your next survey or respond to the survey you have out there right now. So think about that. It might be a motivational tool to get more engagement simply by acknowledging the engagement you have. It also encourages future participation in other things that you do. People share when they feel heard. And track this. Keep track of who you've responded to and who you haven't. Responded fans often become review leavers and referrers of your podcast. Shouting out your audience is always a good thing. It's a community. It's a family. And the more you acknowledge your family, the more they show up. So don't be afraid to thank your audience. I would even go one step further. What I'm contemplating for my survey is a personal touch. I have asked in my survey if it's okay to email you as a responder. And if they say yes to that question, then I feel like I'm missing an opportunity if I don't respond and say thank you. So my goal is for everybody that responds to my survey is to send you a personal note. It'll be an email, but it's not a ChatGPT AI email message. It's me talking to you directly, and it's not done in a form letter, copy paste. It's actually me responding to you one-on-one. I think that's a great thing. A video message is even more impactful, I think, because it's you and I together. So I'd love to do that as well. Wherever possible, I'll do that. But at the very least, an email to say thank you. So if you haven't heard from me yet, it's coming. It's on its way. But I think any touch points we can have with people who respond, validates the response from them to me on my request for feedback, but also just builds a bridge. And maybe it'll lead to something in the future. But even if it doesn't, just a good human thing to do, to acknowledge the people that take time to give you the feedback that you're so desperate for. So make sure you add that into your workflow and do that in a timely fashion. Don't let it sit for a year before you respond to people who've given you feedback. They're going to forget about the whole thing. So when they respond, as quickly as you can, you're going to need to go and send off a message and keep track of who you've emailed and who you haven't. It's very simple. So do that. A key takeaway as we head out the door. Again, go grab Tom Webster's book, The Audience is Listening, A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast, whether you get the audio version on Audible or the paper book or both, like I have. But go grab that. I think surveys surface what analytics hide. Act on the top insight first, the common feedback across multiple responders. Thank your responders publicly and resurvey or tweak your survey, maybe quarterly, but do something on purpose. Like, don't just create one survey, throw it out there and never touch it again, but tweak it. If you're finding that people aren't responding to a certain question, then maybe that question's not clear. Maybe there's not a good way to answer that question. Maybe you just need to tweak the question for clarity or delete it altogether. So watch your responses, especially when it goes right into a Google Sheet. You can see the blank cell staring at you across multiple people that have responded. It's like nobody's answering this question. Does it have value? Should I be asking this question? Am I asking it wrong? Does it make sense to me, but only me? Maybe you need to clarify that question for better responses. So watch that. Your audience doesn't just want to be heard. They want to help shape the show. They have a vested interest in the ongoing sustainability of your podcast. And they like you. They have a connection with you. So give them that power, and they'll help you fuel your growth as a podcaster. Your listeners are cheering you on. You don't have to convince them. And if they respond to you, you've already won the battle for their attention. So acknowledge it, reward it, never take it for granted, and never ask for feedback if you have no plans to do any implementation. It's not an ego stroke to have people respond to you. It's data, it's information, and it can make your show better and help you to connect with more people. One person represents many. So when one person speaks, it's not one single voice. There are other people who might not feel compelled to respond or feel nervous about responding, or they're just not sure. But when one person puts their hand up in class, everyone's like, yeah, that's what I think too. It happens in real life. So when somebody puts their hand up and says, I have some feedback for you, pull out a piece of paper and a pen, take notes, and listen, because your audience is listening. The name of the book. Go grab it. Tom Webster's book. Thanks for being here. And go do my survey. Thanks. Bye. Hey, thanks for being part of the podcast today. Just a reminder, on February 13th to February 14th, we're going to do something a little different on the How to Podcast series. We're going to go and do 24 episodes in 24 hours, a marathon, self-imposed. We're going to create an episode every hour on the hour and release it over a 24-hour period. We're going to go live. We're going to do some live streaming. We're going to be live on social media. We're going to be live on LinkedIn and YouTube and a bunch of different things. So if you want to come along for the journey, and I know I have a global audience, so this might really work well for you to come and be a part of it. And when you go to bed on the 13th and wake up on the 14th, by around 10 a.m., 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you will have 24 episodes in 24 hours from the How to Podcast series. Why am I doing this? Because I don't hear anybody else doing this, and I'm up for a challenge. So it's leading into Valentine's Day. It's leading into falling in love with your podcast for the month of February, all that stuff. So if you're interested and you want to see what's going to happen, 24 episodes in 24 hours with your buddy here, Dave. Let's see anybody else kind of do this. I challenge you or anyone else who thinks they can do this to take up the gauntlet. And let's see if you can do 24 episodes in 24 hours. I triple dog dare you. I'm going to do it. And it's all part of our 365 days of content in 2026. So yeah, this should be fun. So if you want to stick around, you want to check it out, February 13th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, all the way through until completing at 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, the 14th, leading right into our meetup. We'd love to have you come along. Come check out the craziness, February 13th and 14th. Love to see you there. Cheers. Great, you're still here. Awesome. This is the little bonus stuff at the end of the episode that most people aren't going to hear. And yeah, I do this on purpose. I want people to listen to the entirety of the podcast, but I want to have as much value for my listeners as possible. So the fact that you are still here, you found the secret, you've broken the code. And my question that came in was, Dave, how do you celebrate your wins as a podcaster? And is it important to do so? Awesome question. I think as podcasters, as creative people, we create, we post it, we put it out in the world, and we move forward with the next thing. We're just in this ongoing cycle of creation and execution. And we very rarely stop and go, hey, is this really resonating with people? I think as podcasters and creative people, we need to take a victory lap. We really do. We need to do that celebratory lap. Think of like NASCAR racing. They win, they get the checkered flag, and they do another whole lap, an extra lap, where they wave the flag out the window and, they just do a bonus lap, right, to celebrate. When a baseball player hits a home run, it's definitely left the park, but they still have to go touch all the bases with their foot, including home base. Otherwise, it doesn't count. But really, do they have to run all the bases? Well, yeah, according to the rules, but the ball's gone. It's left the ballpark. So Yeah, you think they could just touch home plate and just go back to the dugout. But no, they do a lap, right? So it's kind of a victory lap. And I think as podcasters, we need to celebrate more. So whether it's hitting a certain number of episodes, whether it's hitting a certain number of active listeners, whether it's somebody responded to your request for feedback or a voice message or somebody told you something nice or whatever, we need to celebrate. We need to acknowledge the wins and not just bury ourselves in work. So when somebody gives you great feedback, take a victory lap. Run the bases. Do an extra lap after everybody else has stopped. Wave the flag out the window. Do something that goes, I'm on the right path and what I'm doing is working. You're not going to get a lot of victory laps in life, so celebrate everyone you can. That's my encouragement for you, whatever that is for you. It could be taking your partner out for ice cream just because something went really well in your podcast. You had a great interview. You had a great review from somebody. Something good happened for you in your show. Don't let it slip by. Grab that checkered flag. Grab your moment in the sun. Run the bases. Celebrate. But don't let life pass you by. You put a lot of heart into your show. So don't let those wins just disappear into the ether. Celebrate. Don't be afraid to celebrate. It's not an ego thing. It's not a prideful thing. You really love your audience. You really love your show. You love your content. And your audience is giving you that same love back. So celebrate. And if you haven't done that recently, go do it now. Keep that happy folder. Every good comment, every good email, everything that made you happy in the moment, throw it into your email folder. Create a folder that's called Happy Folder, or whatever you want to call it. But put everything good in that folder. Any good piece of feedback, any good comment. And when you have those days when you're really struggling, go to that folder right away. Or start reading through great comments from your listeners, fellow podcasters. And I would tell you as well, don't podcast alone. That's why I created a podcast meetup, meetup.com. You can find it through howtopodcast.ca. And we get together with podcasters. I don't think you should podcast by yourself. I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's encouraging. I don't think it's long lasting if you don't have somebody in your corner cheering you on. That's what we do at our meetup twice a week. We're now into our 4th year. So please come join us. So we'd love to have you there. But yeah, don't podcast alone and celebrate your wins. Take that victory lap. You deserve it. Go on. I'm cheering for you. Keep going. Thanks for being here.